Hey, welcome to another edition of Weekly Rhythms. My name is Jon DuBois, and it's a real privilege to be able to share from my heart today about what God's doing around here at Olive Baptist Church. You know, as I look at my childhood, I've got so many great memories growing up in my family. My mom and dad were just such godly parents, and they loved Jesus, and they really influenced me as they were here on this earth. They're in heaven now. But I can remember a time when I was in first grade that I'm not real proud of. And it happened to me when I was in school. My mom and dad decided that they were going to come and spend lunch time with me in the cafeteria at my school at Surfside Elementary in Satellite Beach, Florida. And I'll never forget when they came to my school how embarrassed I was that my mom and dad were actually going to eat lunch with me in my school, and I was the only kid in the class whose parents came that day. And I was just mortified, and they walked with me down to the cafeteria, and we sat down and got lunch. And I can remember the whole time I didn't look at them, I didn't talk to them, I literally ignored them. And of course, you know, for years my family would tease me about that day that I ignored my mom and dad and wouldn't talk to them. And you know, little kids do foolish things. And I laugh about that now. But that memory stirs up another memory in my heart that I'm not real proud of either. And as I think about my walk with Jesus over the years, there have been times when God has been faithful to give me an opportunity to share Jesus or to talk about Christ with someone, and I didn't take it. In fact, I would admit to you that I was ashamed of Christ. I didn't want to speak up about the Lord. I didn't want to share the Lord because of what people might think about me, about what people might think about my reputation, or they might make fun of me, they might reject me. And I think many of us believers can admit that there's been times in our life when we've been ashamed of Christ, when we didn't speak up when we had the opportunity to do that. It reminds me of Peter back in the Gospels when he denied Jesus. And Peter was so proud and so loyal to Jesus, and he said, "Lord, I'll never deny you. I'll go to you. I'll go with you to prison. I'll even die for you." And of course, Jesus told Peter that he was going to deny him, not once, not twice, but before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. We see it here in Scripture. Luke chapter 22, you know the story. Peter followed Jesus at a distance, and he was in the courtyard of the chief priest's house where Jesus was led to after he was arrested. And Peter was warming himself at the fire, and people around Peter started talking to him and saying, "You knew Jesus, you were with Christ, you're with him." And of course, we know that he denied knowing Christ not once, but twice. And then the third time, we see it in verse 59 of Luke 22. "And after an interval of about an hour, still another insisted, saying, 'Certainly this man also was with him, for he too is a Galilean.' But Peter said, 'Man, I do not know what you are talking about.' And immediately while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. And the Lord turned and looked at Peter. And Peter remembered the saying of the Lord, how he said to him, 'Before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times.' And he went out and he wept bitterly." Can you imagine what went through the mind of Peter when he kept denying Jesus? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Think about all the times that Jesus and Peter had together, walking on the water, casting the net into the deep water. And Peter caught so much fish that day that he realized that he was a sinful man, and he fell at the feet of Jesus, pleading him to get away from him because he was a sinful man. Climbing to the Mount of Transfiguration and seeing Jesus being transfigured, and Moses and Elijah came to minister to Christ, and Peter yelled out, "Lord, let's build a shelter for all 3 of you." And of course, God's voice echoed through that valley. Be still, be quiet, and know that my son is who he is. Listen to my son. And Jesus looked at Peter when he denied him for the third time. But you know, there's good news today. God knows that we're going to fail him. He knows that there are going to be times when we fumble that ball, that we don't deliver the message the way maybe we should. And we're reminded in that same chapter of Luke 22 when Jesus spoke to Peter before he denied him. And Jesus said, Simon, Simon, verse 31, behold, Satan demanded to have you that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have returned again, strengthen your brothers. I just got good news for you today. If you've been ashamed of Christ in the past, or you didn't speak up when God gave you an opportunity, the Lord loves you. The Lord is willing to forgive you. The Lord is praying for you even now that you might not be ashamed of Christ. You know, Paul said it the best when he wrote in Romans 1:16. Paul wrote, for I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. So I just want to encourage you today that the same way that Peter came back to Christ and repented and confessed his denial, and God used him in a mighty way. The Lord wants us to come back and to confess that being ashamed. And he wants us to be bold. He wants us to tell people about Christ. He wants us to be that witness. But we don't want to go around being judgmental and hateful and mean and harsh with people. No. We want to be humble. We want to be kind. We want to be loving. But we want to be bold to share about Christ. So I hope this video has encouraged you today to not be ashamed of Christ, but to know that he has done so much for you and for me in our life. Not just dying on the cross, not just rising from the dead, but how he's blessed us even today in our lives, that we would speak up and share the name of Christ. Until the next time we get together, I hope this video has encouraged you today. God bless you and have a great day.